Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of SteerBridge Insights. Today, we'll be exploring data discovery, management, analytics, and cloud capabilities. On our show today, we have Joe Williams, a managing director at SteerBridge, who helps connect data to operational outcomes. Get ready to be inspired by his wealth of experience and knowledge. Joe, it's a pleasure to sit down with you. Thanks for sitting down with us today. If you could, please introduce yourself and tell us what your role at SteerBridge is.
Yeah, I'm Joe Williams. I had a long career in the Marine Corps, so about 30 years. Did a lot of different things there and recognized as I was leaving, how important it was to get commercial technologies in to modernize the Marine Corps and the armed services, and everything from the tactical level, strategic level, just into the administration of being in the Marine Corps. So that's what I did, and leaving the Marine Corps, came to SteerBridge, and I managed the partnerships with technology companies, cloud service providers, really with the intent to bring modernization and modern technologies to the Marine Corps and to the rest of the military service and federal government.
Excellent. Today we're going to talk about, data, cloud capabilities, and, the management of data, the analytics that go into that, and then discovery as well. What experience do you have with data and how it supports strategic planning and operational outcomes?
So this goes back a little bit to my time in the Marine Corps, both operationally and in staff level jobs. We were always data hungry. We just didn't have the ability, the capabilities, the technologies to really aggregate it, utilize it, and then make it operational. It was very siloed, from all the way from out at in the operational level. How do you stay connected in very, in environments that become either threat environments or, that have limited capability and capacity to transmit data. So you had a lot of siloed data. You had a lot of very unique applications that sat on top of that data, so it wasn't shared well. Those applications couldn't talk to each other really well. And that creates stagnation, and it creates problems, and we couldn't really realize or recognize or utilize all the power of the data that we had. So, recognizing that within the service, coming to SteerBridge, it was really, really important. But it really highlights the challenges and demonstrates that, a couple of things have happened in the last 5 to 10 years. Number one, cloud has become accessible to the DoD, and there's some tensions there and some challenges about utilizing it. But what it's done is it's allowed for capacity, scalability, and common applications that can really help develop and make that data portable and usable everywhere, out from the tactical edge all the way into administration. But in addition to that, come with analytical tools that can integrate with current applications, modern software applications that allow us to utilize data in order to do everything, again, from operations back into the administration of the DoD.
Yeah, you mentioned that we were data hungry. We have lots of data throughout the DoD, so much that it paralyzes users, right? If you're not trained on how to parse through that data, aggregate that data, and leverage that data, it's useless if you can't use it and leverage it, right?
That's correct. And so, one big point of that is really data discovery. And when it's siloed, you could have two different organizations that really require that data and where that data could really be useful, but you don't know it exists if it doesn't sit within your own organization. And so, that has a lot of applications, some of your background in recruiting, manpower management. And, as an example, as I left the Marine Corps, I was printing out documents to sign them, to scan them back in, to send them back down. I had to put all my information on there. I'm like, I've been in the Marine Corps 30 years. I know the Marine Corps has this information. Why am I writing down a piece of paper? And that's just a bit of an example of how, if you keep data siloed and you have unique applications and business processes on top of in each one of these organizations, then you're just wasting effort and you're wasting time. And when the cloud can bring these applications into a common data environment, and those applications can interact, now that information is transferred from all the way from when I mean, prior to joining the service, as you go through recruiting, all the way to your veteran, your veteran work, and you can see the challenges with that, even with how, and it's something the VA has been struggling with when veterans leave the Marine Corps, leave the service, that our medical records somehow can't get transferred. Again, 30 years of medical records, somehow that you got to reconstitute, and it doesn't automatically transfer, or can't be. The information isn't portable. It's not crossing those systems because those systems are set up in siloed ways and antiquated. So we've got as the cloud provides access to data, but just finding that data is really, really critical. And then you got to manage it and clean it. You got to pull it all into an environment in such a way that it's usable, because some data entry is critical, and if you put the wrong kind of information or in the wrong field, then that data is not valuable anymore. So, as you go through this, some of the challenges are really, really data discovery, managing and cleaning, because of all the hype and the froth and buzz around AI. It's useless without the data, number one, without data that's usable, number two.
Right. If you input the wrong data, AI is going to do what AI does. You're just going to get the wrong output, right? Is that the importance of having clean data?
But yes, and it's not even again, AI becomes a very hot topic, but there is a lot of work we can do, and a lot of insights we can gain just from analytics without these modern models, and really understanding the difference between analytics is, hey, I ingest a bunch of data, I understand it, and I create insights associated with it. AI sits on top of that as well, in terms of it's really designed as, it says in the name, artificial intelligence. So it really highlights that, it's help for decision making, to speed decision making, and to support those operations. But there's a lot of work to be done and a lot of insights to be gained just by doing analytics. So getting back to your point, Chris, about bad data and not having the right data, analytics is only going to produce what it has, and AI is only going to produce what it has as well. So the really criticality of, number one, finding all the data that's available to you, manage it and clean it. Now you're ready to do that analytics in AI and apply those key capabilities in order to get the insights that you're looking for.
Awesome. Thank you for that. There's a lot of buzz about the impact of AI on business. And, what are your thoughts on how it will impact business and their customers?
Well, AI is a lot of froth and buzz around it, and it is a tremendous capability. But I was just talking with a colleague this morning who said, hey, AI will automate a lot of tasks and routine tasks, and it's like toil. It will do the toil that we need. That will grind through those hard time of trying to do these routine tasks, and it can be very valuable in that way. But I still think that it has limitations, and it should be viewed as a tool to support business and a tool to support human decision making. Yeah. So it's tremendously valuable. It will be in the future, but it's really designed, and we should think of it in such a terms, in terms that it's going to help us support business operations, productivity, human decision making. But it won't replace the natural collaboration, interactions that we have in organizations that are so critical in order to both deliver for customers and for the people that they serve.
So thank you for that. What I picked up on that was the importance of relationships, right? The in-person collaboration, the discussions, the validation of what the models or the analytics provide, right? And you mentioned speed, that AI and even the models that run analytics can help speed the decision-making cycle up, right?
Correct.
If without these tools, right, the humans have to do everything, which oftentimes eats up all the time that you have to execute, which removes the ability to collaborate and make smart decisions. Do you think that these tools, because they do speed that part up, will enhance collaboration so that not only better decisions are made, but faster decisions are made?
Absolutely. I think that, one of the great parts, when you see these analytical tools and AI be applied, instead of, it can replace wasted effort. And the processing power of both the analytics and the models can provide insights that, somebody that that are the people working on difficult problems just don't have time to do, or the training or the expertise. And so as you automate those analytical processes and developing those models, now you free up, and I'll use a military service as an example. You free up your corporals, lance corporals, sergeants to be working together, leading, training, and doing their job, as opposed to trying to, to stumble through or try to see why, try to see how they can create a solution or they may not even believe they can create a solution, but that solution can be created for them. And, and that is really the depth of how AI can support that, as well as analytics. So, and we're seeing that even in one of our things we can talk about in a minute, one of our projects we're doing is really creating a analysis of past performance of how supply for aviation parts is delivered to the Marine Corps. And in that way, like, you can't, there's nobody within that has the capability to do that mathematical grind on all that data. But even in this, we're going back to those things. We got to discover the data, we got to manage it, we got to then clean it, do analytics, and then do the AI. And that takes work. That is a lot. That is really, really difficult. But once you get there and you get that all done, now you're creating insights that allows a maintainer or a supply officer to look into the future and then better support the Marine Corps or those deploying units or that warfighter. And so that's the real value in it, is that they're really able to look in the future, use their expertise, and do their job with gained insights that we don't have without it.
So, thank you. What I heard, or what I'm pulling from what you just said, is momentum. Is that up front, it's a heavy lift to get it going. But once you get it right and the inputs come in the way they're supposed to, the momentum that you gain long term is really where the value is.
That's actually a great word. I hadn't thought of that. So yes, momentum is right. It takes a hard push to get it moving, but when it starts rolling, it really does do a lot of work going down range. And a couple of things to point to that is that momentum is kind of inhibited by culture, business process, really understanding, hey, this is in addition to what we're doing right now, which nobody thinks that, hey, yeah, put another task on me, I don't have enough to do. But yeah, as we go through that, it's a challenge. But once you start to see the value of it, once we start to see our customers see the value of it, then the momentum really does pick up, and then it's, then you start getting a bunch of questions. Oh, it does. You can do that with this model and this data. And then they say, yeah. And then you say, well, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do that? And they start to see the power and the value of it.
That innovative light bulb clicks on, and then they start understanding the realm of possibility at that point, right?
Yep.
Back to what you said, the old ways we used to do it, or we've always done it this way, sounds like change management, which is big in IT right now, is going to play a heavy hand in gaining this momentum when you're talking about key stakeholders, et cetera, involved in the decision-making process.
Yes, absolutely. And the biggest challenge in this whole process is getting an organization prepared to make this transformation, to get out of, as you ingest the data, you modernize the applications, and you see the promise of what can happen and then those tools. But in doing so, you got to affect the culture, you got to affect the job descriptions, the business processes, and companies and people and organizations can get very, very leery about where their data is going, how their processes are going to change, how's it going to impact them. You look at the stories and read the stories about, or read articles about how people are concerned that all of these different types of jobs are going away because of AI, and there's some validity to that jobs will transform and change. But I think if we're part of this process to build a data-centric culture where data can move and you can gain insights from it through analytics and AI, and a web-based or cloud-based software or platform that can then interact through APIs into these different data places, or data repositories or data lakes. You can, better way to say that would be integrated into an integrated data environment, so that you can access it from all these different places and then utilize that data. But that is an organizational change. And, if you sit down with somebody, in that process I described of, hey, separations from the Marine Corps, and you ask them, how should we do this better when we move the data over to here? You're going to get a very similar process out of them. And if you ask everybody, it's going to reflect a lot like what the process is, because that is how the process got developed, based on a siloed data and a application that sits on top of that silo that doesn't necessarily connect to another one. But if you break it all down, you say, well, all the data exists, and I only need one application, and all I got to do is put 3 or 4 steps in there, or develop a process that the software can manage. That is not what they're thinking, because they want to say, well, my role is to do this in this process. And if you're like, well, that role doesn't exist in this other one, how do you change for that person what they're going to be doing? Right. And so, to your point, it's really difficult to look at it, for an organization. And it's one of the most critical steps before you start any is to prepare the organization, train them, find out, what does the transition look like, and educate them and build the culture. Number one, provide the information to the organization, the people in it, about, hey, what does my role look like? And there may be roles that change, modify, and those are the hard discussions you want to have prior to these moving the data and changing how the data and the applications and the integrated data environment function, so they can see a pathway. If you try to do that all at once, you're going to run into a lot of institutional friction, and that becomes a big problem.
Thank you for that. The SteerBridge prides itself on finding domain experts such as yourself. You are a domain expert for what you did in the Marine Corps for 30 years, and pairing you with technology experts, right? So that you two can work together and provide solution and value to our customers. Prior to coming to SteerBridge, did you understand how technology could help improve some of the processes that you were doing in the Marine Corps a year ago, 2 years ago?
So when I was one tour that I did in the Marine Corps, I was the chief staff of Marine Corps Installations West, and we were lucky enough we developed a little bit of an innovation cell at Marine Corps Station Miramar. Out of that cell, we got a lot of interaction with industry, technology industry, through 5G, capabilities of 5G, some autonomy, and we worked with a company that showed us that through a innovation contract through DIU, that they could come in, set up, use commercial technologies for basically base defense. They had, the cameras were, again, cameras and sensors were commercial off the shelf, so they very rapidly could put them and upgrade them if they wanted or needed to. But they had an AI platform on which it could take in all sensor data. It ran on a commercial cloud or through a URL to the web, and so we didn't have to buy the software, we didn't have to buy the hardware, any computer, any government issued cell phone or tablet. You could access this basically this website or this URL in an interface, and through that we really saw. I saw the power of using commercial technologies to fill all these gaps that we don't need to do a full acquisition program through the normal federal acquisition regulation, where we viewed this, or at least I viewed time as a basically base security as a service, and we put them on contract for a certain amount of money per year, and in such a way that they were incentivized to continue to upgrade the software, upgrade the hardware, that if we were getting a good service, we would continue to pay them.
Right.
And it was really, really fascinating to see how well and how fast they were able to upgrade and integrate all different sensors, UAS and video feeds, and then make that in such a way that our PMO, Provost Marshal Office Marines and civilians could then react and respond. And so I'll play out a quick scenario. east of Miramar, there's a very mountainous area. It's big. It's almost as big as it's bigger than the airfield itself, and the installation on their side of
Top of the mountain.
Yeah, top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And but there's lots of movement that happens down there. You know, that sometimes kids are riding their bikes.
Island.
Sometimes people are walking through. Sometimes it's coyotes. You know, those kind of things. But what was really great about this was they had up a tower. They had a IR and EO cameras, so infrared, and then electro-optical cameras on there, and sensors on top of that camera. On top of there, they did use computing at the edge capability, of which then processed the video images they were taking. And so if they saw a movement across the camera or one of those things, it would track that. It would then process it, say whether it was a human, a car, you know, a varmint of some sort, and then it would create and then you'd see a picture. If it was undetermined or something like that, they could just on a computer, you could go and click 2 buttons, off would lift the UAS and fly down, and now it could track it.
Range, yeah.
And then you could have the PMO people or the PMO officers in their car on their iPad watching this entire, and then they could, you know, on a map get down to where the intruder was, and do that, and then either pull them in or apprehend them. But the really cool thing about that was it was great that they could do that action, but what they didn't have to do was chase everything down, and nobody had to sit in front of a screen for 24/7 to be watching these narrow areas. So you had the ability to automate those processes, which made their PMO much more effective in responding to what they needed to and not responding to things they didn't,
right.
And then put them back into jobs that were more fulfilling, roles that were more fulfilling, and were better for the security of the base,
right.
Overall. So that was kind of my introduction to how commercial technologies and capabilities could really, really transform how we do things in the armed services. But it was based around, you know, the ability to compute power, the power to get data, and then the AI application, or the AI models that were able to help enhance our mission capabilities.
Right. That is an excellent case study of an innovation unit doing what it's designed to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But absent that, right? Absent you being at that innovation unit and taking part of a cell of smart folks that are thinking beyond current state, how do you think that the range application would have still been going today?
In
terms of ensuring the safety.
The challenge, it ran into the brick wall ran into the big pit of how do I get from an innovation program to an innovation program to an actual program, you know, that is funded and has requirements. And so that is our biggest challenge right now, is how do we close that gap from, hey, we love this technology, it's great, but a small innovative company can't wait 4 years for you to get a program together and then get it funded and then get more than, you know, and then build it up slowly like that. Right. So, you know, that is a big challenge for us, and that's something a big challenge for the government, and it's a big challenge to small companies. How do you figure out ways in order to utilize the acquisition and capabilities outside of the federal of the FAR, right, in order to then provide services at this, you know, I think they're calling it at the speed of relevance or speed, right, of innovation, whatever you want to use, in order to really help the government move. And I think we'll see how Project Replicator, if that can solve some of that. Hopefully it does. You know, but it's the nature of, you know, you got to work within the law and the policies. And so hopefully Replicator creates some pathways under which small companies and innovative companies can follow the lead of those companies that have made it across that valley.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for that. Now I just kind of want to talk about where the industry, you know, as a whole currently stands. You mentioned that you manage partnerships with cloud service providers, right? Can you describe the current state of cloud technology and data management?
So cloud's basically data centers, right? But the good news is that, you know, those are becoming more commonplace in terms of people are getting more comfortable. But the federal government across the board has done a couple of things in the last couple of years. Number one, they've created these the contracts that allow the federal government agencies and organizations to access those clouds, to access the compute and storage power, almost like a utility. So they can go into, and I'll use the Joint Warfighting Cloud Contract, for the DoD as an example. There's a central program office that manages that. If you want to go in and get a certain amount of compute power and storage power, you go to that program office. They go out to one of the 4 cloud companies, AWS, Google, Azure, or Oracle, and find you a good match. And then you can kind of go in and pay for that. What that's done is kind of taken out resellers out of the market. But what it's done is it's allowed the transparency in the cost, which has been a big issue with, I think, with some of the organizations trying to find out, hey, am I paying too much for this cloud? Am I paying, am I being overcharged? But that central program office kind of has changed that, and they are C2S or with the intelligence agency, and then a few other, but they're happening all around now. So that ability to access cloud is both compute and storage is almost has been very well leveled. There's concern about, hey, do I lose my data? Is it secure? Is it all those things? And there's always trade-offs. It's available. The resiliency of those CSPs is pretty incredible. The capacity that they have is unlimited. And the security, again, it's not my specialty, but from my understanding, they're very secure. Especially AWS. AWS has its Gov Cloud, which is separate from its commercial, and all the CSPs have that now.
Right. Okay. Thank you. In terms of cloud, where does SteerBridge currently stand in offering that service or providing that to customers?
Well, SteerBridge is a data company, so we ingest and utilize data. So when we ingest it, we put it onto right now our big project that we do is goes through AWS Gov Cloud, the JPO instance. So what we do is when we ingest the data and manage it and clean it, that's where we then go in and do our analytics. So and we utilize, and there's products that sit within each cloud that you can utilize for setting up data lakes, for doing analytics, for doing any number of other technical requirements, or data management requirements and data analytics requirements. So there's a lot of products that sit within those CSPs as well that we can utilize, and we do, in order to create those solutions for our customers.
Okay, thank you. SteerBridge is a small but very capable company, right?
Yep.
When we're talking about cloud and data management and analytics, right? Can you describe some of the roles that we have native on staff to our core corporate capability at SteerBridge?
Yeah, so we have, like I said in previous statement, we're a data company, and so we have the full spectrum of data capability here. So everything from database administrators to engineers to architects to analysts, we have and data scientists, right up along that whole spectrum. And in doing so, we have capability to help understand, help manage databases all the way through to reconstruct them, then do analysis right there at that point of entry, and then build new databases that are then structured in such a way that our analysts and data scientists can build models and analytics that really provide the insights that we're looking for. So we also put on top of that, because how do you visualize and utilize it then? How do you those insights and what those models produce and what those analytics produce? And so we also have software engineers and developers that help us visualize, develop applications, and the utilization of those and the utilization of that data. And those can be customized as well, like we're doing. So customized to a specific customer for a specific insight that they're looking for.
That is a great capability to have, and offers absolute value to customers, right?
Right.
Can you share a success story where SteerBridge helped a client implement a data strategy using all of what we've discussed to this point?
Yeah. So for marine aviation, the marine aviation is looking for how to optimize some of their parts supplies for their F-35s, and what we've done is we have a data team that basically that's embedded with the customer out in their operational units, And those are our database architects, those are our database engineers and analysts. And we'll also have a data scientist that works in that environment, again, to really do a couple of things: ingest data, manage it and clean it, put it into a pipeline, and then provide insights to the customer right there at their point of entry and point of interface. And so that's a really interesting and really great way to do this, is because we're sitting with the customer, not just extracting data and taking it and moving it off, but really helping them understand about the requirement for good data entry and data quality, how to better utilize the data that they have at their fingertips, and then, or within their databases and within their applications, out in the fleet. And then we extract that data. Now, for delivery on some of the higher level and more challenging analytics and AI, we also have a corporate group of data engineers, data architects, and data scientists, and our software engineers as well. So and we use those in two different ways. One, for a delivery on a contract that we're doing that goes to headquarters Marine Corps, we will then utilize those data scientists and those software engineers in order to build the application and deliver. So we've got two different kind of components there. One is out in the field working directly with a customer that is ingesting the data. Second one would be corporate, where we're pulling that data out, utilizing it in order to deliver for the entire organization. We also use it internally we also use our team internally to improve our business processes, see how we're working. So we have analysts as well, working with, as we ingest opportunities and try to process the information that we have in our corporate manner, that we utilize it as well.
So thank you. Earlier I talked to the lead recruiter, or the head of recruiting for SteerBridge, who goes out at the forward edge and finds the talent that we need to support contracts, corporate operations, et cetera. When you say that we have, engineers and administrators that are out with the customer, well, where are those geographic? Like, where do we have SteerBridge employees?
We have them in San Diego,
okay.
Yuma, San Diego, California, Yuma, Arizona, Iwakuni, Japan, and that is growing. We will go to the East Coast, down to South Carolina and North Carolina in the future. So
right.
That's so there's a lot of great opportunities out there, and we're growing that team. And that team is doing very, very well. We've had nothing but phenomenal response from both, the customer on the ground and who they're interacting with. The team is good and tight knit. They really enjoy each other and really support each other, and so you can see the interactions there. So I'm very happy to see how that team is coming together. Again, it's been about 6 months since we started, and it's grown from 0 to 5, and it's going to go, probably 2-3 times that in the next year.
So the SteerBridge global headquarters is in Vienna, Virginia.
Right.
But you do not have to live in Vienna, Virginia to work for SteerBridge.
No, we have a blend of people that work here at the corporate headquarters, and then we have, some of our data team and software team is spread a little bit around the country, but we do bring them together. We do bring the entire company together twice a year, so that we do have an opportunity to do that collaboration we talked about kind of in the opening.
Right.
So it's not just, hey, you're out there sitting on your own. We do come together. I will travel out and to our team next week and see them on site. So right. We do get a lot of interaction. We think that's critical for the culture of our company, that we bring people together. They get to interact, and they get to see that entire chain of data from the entry point to what it's actually producing at the output. And you get to see and when it's really, really fun to watch as our data team and our software team come together, over a couple of days, you can really see bonds form. They put names with faces, then they start to see the opportunities that they have, and the discussions they have breaks down some barriers. You can see their brains start to enliven and go on fire. And then they start really talking about some interesting things, insights that they didn't have and we didn't have,
right,
about even what the team can do. So it's really one of those great things that we really enjoy.
Yeah, it's awesome that you get to get out, meet with them, bring them together. It's key for camaraderie and the culture aspect. What I appreciate out of what you said is that, all of the things that you're talking about are complex. And to solve those complex challenges, whether it's cloud-related, data management, the AI, you need talented, fast-paced people that are willing to put in the effort and provide value to our customer. And SteerBridge goes to wherever that talent is and finds a way to utilize them to do that.
That's correct.
What are some challenges and solutions looking out? What are some of the common challenges organizations face when adopting data strategies?
Well, I think that one of the biggest challenges is you can't tack data onto the back end of what you're trying to accomplish. At least from what I look at as SteerBridge. As I said, we're a data company. We're data company first. We build. The data is where we build around, and that's what we know, that we have to build the capabilities around that in order to then become successful. But if we're gonna go dabble in that a little bit, you're not going to get there. So that's one of the biggest things that I think is most critical, is that we recognize that data, the ability to, getting through that full spectrum of data services, that we have the people that can do it, so that each person in that chain is enabled and supported by the people around them, left, right, top, center, that they can do their job, because they're not throwing something over the wall and hoping it gets done. It's like, hey, they know the person, again, coming back together twice a year. They know the person that they're trying to coordinate what they need, and when they do that, then it's very successful that way. So again, we go right all the way from a database administrator all the way to data scientists, with 10 or 15 years of experience. So that's where I think this company is really doing well, is that we really create that chain and support each other, and we built that culture of a data-first company.
Joe, in the future, right, how do you see what challenges and opportunities will present itself in the next 5 years, and how is SteerBridge preparing to meet the future demands and challenges in these areas?
Well, if you go back 5 years, think about everything all the changes and advancements that we've seen. I mean, you don't have to go back 5, you can go back 1. ChatGPT didn't exist a year ago, right? Now that has created this roiling debate, and then now you've seen Google and all the other companies come out with their equivalent of large language models. So I think if you tried to throw a line out 5 years from now and say, and understand really where the technology is going to be, I think we'd be in a dangerous spot there. Right. But how we've structured ourselves, again, I go back to our structure. We've put in place the people, the data teams that sit with the customer, because the customer is who you're trying to really, and the client, because you're really trying to understand what their needs are. And if you get that good relationship with them, we're structured there very well to ingest data. We take that data then, and then our corporate team that can analyze it and build models off of it. We can always supplement and change and develop those capabilities, but the structure of our company is set up in such a way that we can take advantage of those new technologies and those new capabilities as they come online.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Just thinking back through our entire conversation today, what are the key takeaways that you'd hope our audience remembers about data management and strategic plan?
I'm going to go back to your comment, which was momentum. I think that the biggest challenge is recognizing that collection is hard, getting the culture of the organization ready and prepared to change how it functions, and then get moving. Because once that momentum builds and and you overcome that institutional kind of momentum, which is stagnant, and you get it moving, and then you start collecting the data. But that is not easy. In finding the data, and you'll get told many times that data doesn't exist. You can't access that. Nobody has it. You don't have the right to it. And you got to kind of work through all of those challenges, because you'll get told, like, that's my data, you don't have access to it. And you're like, well, it's not really your data, it's the government's data. And but you got to be careful on that, because you don't want to be poking people in the eye and in the chest. You really have to work through, you have to educate, you have to help. And in doing so, you'll create that momentum. They'll start to see that they have a partner in this, right, and not somebody that's trying to just take their stuff and tell them how to do business. And that's not the approach. What you want to do is to work through the process, work through the education, and it takes time. But once you ingest and collect the data, now you can start to manage it, and now you can start to develop and deliver for your client or your customer. And that's really where the overcoming that challenge, building that momentum, and then you start to become a really, really successful partner for them. And that's really where you see the lights start to go off,
Right.
and you start to see hey, this is really great for my organization, because now I can fully utilize the people in my organization in such a way that really capitalizes on their talents.
Awesome. Well, it's been really good sitting down with you today, Joe. I know you're a managing director and super busy, so thank you for your time, and I look forward to sitting down again.
Yes, likewise, Chris. Thank you.